what I'm going to focus on today, and there were a few topics I guess I could have chosen to pursue. What I thought was a good one was how to really grow your business, because for many folks they've taken a stab at it, or they've been in business for a while, or maybe their business is going on the way down and they need to turn it around. So what are certain steps that one could take? And in my case, I really believe it's more about philosophy and commitment than actual, step-by-step, processes that one can just blanketly put across the room. Because of the diversity of all of our businesses, the step-by-step approach doesn't really work. I think it needs to be much broader than that. It needs to be, where do you really want to be? So what I'm going to do is, I don't really like to read too much, so I'm going to, give you kind of an overall sense of how I see business, give you a top 10 business rules that I've been asked to write for LinkedIn, which I have not sent in yet. So if you think they're no good, let me know. And then I'll take questions, because I think in the question and answer session is where we really learn the most. So first and foremost is, I think you need to ask yourselves this question: what size business do you want? That's really the first question. And most people, do not honestly answer that question. And I often use my brother as an example, and so he's in my speech or whatever, my talk this morning. Forever, he and I tried to work together, okay? And he's a small businessman. I did not want to be a small business person. I wanted to have a large enterprise. So at every turn, it didn't matter if it was 1991, it didn't matter if it was 1995, if it was 1999. I even tried it again in 2006, okay? It just did not work. I was ready to dive into the Atlantic and swim to Paris, and my brother's holding on to the Statue of Liberty with 2 hands in his feet, okay? He does not want to take the risk that one would have to take to achieve the result that I was trying to achieve. As many people know, I grew up in a little town of West Warwick, and my parents worked in the mills, so my dad at Twin Oaks, etc. So, I had to start from scratch. I did not have a lot of opportunity readily available to me. Yet I had the vision, and I understood where I wanted to be. And so the only way to get there were to take certain steps. And that's where usually the conflict takes place. I know many of you have worked with, siblings, your spouses, your best friends, people that came to you with a good idea. Yet you likely, in many cases, never took the step of having that honest conversation of where do we want to be when it's all said and done. Because the measure of success for everyone could be different. I ask myself that all the time. I have 5 kids. My mother's still alive. I don't have a mortgage. What else do I need, right? Yet, I still feel like I have a lot more to do in order to achieve what my definition of success is. And so my definition is one that looks at my peer group, or those that I want to be in my peer group, and say, how do I get there? And so in my case, recently as I launched BENRUS, which was an old brand, relaunched it, I said I want a multi-billion-dollar company. One does not just go and say that. When one says that, you have to really have the confidence that you can achieve that. So the steps to get there have to be massive in my case. But yet, I'll bring it back for a moment. On the small business side, again, to use my brother, he has an optical shop. He's an optician. He's always had an optical shop. I joined him in 1987, part-time, and 91, full-time. By 1994, we had 21 locations in 11 states. Went on active duty a few times, had to go on active duty. When I came back, he had one store left because he didn't want all of that. But yet you fast forward to where he is today, and he just recently opened his second store in Miami. He now lives in Orlando. And he opened his second store in Miami, and he's now ready to kind of get there. And so those, that basic question is so important. It's not something you're going to read about. It's one that has to reside within you. What size business do you want? What do you want to do when you wake up? What is your measure of success? Is the measure of success enough money to pay your mortgage, pay your car payment, pay for your kids to go to school, retirement? If that's what it is, then it's a small business, okay? That's what it is. Do not confuse the term entrepreneur with small business, okay? They are two different things. I've risked everything I have, all the time. Matter of fact, I'm willing to still risk it. And therefore, I launched BENRUS for my next project. That's very different than my brother Tony, okay? My brother will look and say, okay, do I have enough money to open that second location without impacting the size of my home, the car I drive, and everything else? These are basic questions. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with who you bring along. That's going to be what I want to segue into next. Who works with you? Stop hiring people who are unskilled to take important positions in your company. I don't care if you're married to them, okay? I don't care if they're your kids. I don't care if they're your best friend. They do not belong there if they're not qualified for the position, okay? Don't do that to yourself. Don't sit there and say, well, how did this happen? What do you mean, how did it happen? I'm hiring XYZ, and you're just picking somebody because they need a job. That's different, okay? This is very important. Now, irrespective of the size of your business, this is the most important thing you need to remember today. If you're a business owner, you have people's lives in your hands. That's an unbelievable, awesome responsibility. You have someone's life in your hand, and a bunch of lives in many cases. How are they going to pay their student loans back? How are they going to pay their mortgage? How are they going to pay their car payments? Think of the stress they have if you don't run a successful business and if you're making poor decisions. You need to be very, very sound in your decision making. You cannot make a decision if you only have one option. Remember that. Someone brings me something and say, let's do this. Do we want to do that? I don't know. He only brought me one option. I cannot make a decision. I'm not a professor or anything, but I'll tell you, I'm pretty sure that you cannot make, a real decision with only one option. You need at least two. And in the military, you need three. You need three courses of action. You break it down, and then you determine which one is the right course of action. I tell this story to kind of put it in perspective. When I served as ground operations officer at United States Central Command, one of the main things one of my main responsibilities was to count combat power. So that was all the artillery, the personnel, everything that was flowing into theater. And when you cross a certain threshold, you are then combat ready. So there are three phases. There's NMC, non-mission capable. That would be like the first day we show up. Then as we count and power comes into theater, you cross a certain threshold. Once you cross 30%, you become IMC. You're initially mission capable. Once you cross 70%, you're FMC. You're fully mission capable. So again, translate what I'm telling you in military terms to business. Think about all the things that you're putting in place, okay? Well, on March 2nd, we became FMC, fully mission capable. At that point, we still needed to move, or secure, Iraq in the north. Now, we had the 4th Infantry Division sitting off of Cyprus. And the first course of action was to flow them through Turkey and go down and secure the north. Well, that was the course of action from November up until March 2nd. On March 2nd, because the government of Turkey still did not allow us to go through, we were ready to go. We then automatically shift to course of action 2, which becomes course of action 1, and therefore secured 11 airports in Italy and did the largest airborne jump since World War II to secure northern Iraq. It's not do I do this? So put in processes that force you to make the right decision. What are the steps? It should be date-driven, should be people-driven, should be, all of the things that require you to succeed in your business. So that's an example of, being honest with the information that you're populating. Now, some of the things I'm going to say, I don't know if I'll ever get asked to come back here and speak, but I'm going to tell you a few things. I don't think everyone should be in business. Where's Mayor Fung? Still here? I think Reservoir Avenue sucks. Okay? I remember what Reservoir Avenue looked like. Okay? So you take what was probably 10, 20 great businesses, and now everybody decided to put up a shingle, so let's have 102 crappy businesses. Because that's what happens. Everyone thinks they can do this or do that. They're undercapitalized, no commitment. Number one small business mistake, I told this to the second in command of Bank of America. Small businesses are open at the wrong hours. What are you doing open 9 to 5? I'm at work, okay? I don't have time to go to your business. I'm working. Number one thing I did in my previous venture was extend hours, okay? And we had a business rule. If you made $250 or more in your last hour, you stay open. Every hour until you go under 250 or you hit midnight, and that's only for safety, okay? And that's how it happened. That's how we achieved the highest sales per location than anyone but Apple, because we were open at the right time. Look at the Wilsons of Wickford situation. I was personally involved with that. I'm sorry, I'll talk to the newspaper right now and sit down with the Wilsons. They don't want to listen, okay? They don't want to listen. They sit there, they want to be open while I can't go see them. So I have to spend my money elsewhere. I can't go there. Why do malls kick everybody's butt? Because they're open when nobody else is open. Okay, so think about that. Think about how you're structuring your business. You want to live the same life as everybody else and you have a small business. Well, guess what? You cannot. You chose not to go work over there. I had a friend of mine, they work at, Bank X or whatever. They said, listen, I could never do what you do. And it wasn't about being right or wrong or who's better than anybody. It was just a statement. They said, listen, I'm an ant, okay? I get up at 8 o'clock, I go to work at 9, I leave at 4, I don't care if I'm done, whatever I'm doing, I'm out the door, okay? And I work 5 days a week, I want to work here 20 years, I can't wait to retire. This is my life, I'm an ant, okay? That's what they chose. You want to be in business, you don't want to be an ant, I'm guessing, okay? So now you're running a business. So now what do? How do you create an environment that does not mimic that one? Okay? You have to take those steps. I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead for a moment and give you my 10 rules that as I see them. And some of these I'm sure you've heard from other folks as well, but I can honestly tell you these are just rules that I wrote down without reading articles or anything. These are just what I feel. So number 10 is take risk or risk becoming irrelevant. Okay. Number 9 is hire real operators, not diplomas or resumes. Number 8 is maintain your culture at all costs. Okay. In my case, in larger corporations, etc., it's extremely important. You walk into something, and it could be a different company than you worked at 2 months ago if somebody takes the culture and changes it up. But we've seen it in all environments, right? It doesn't matter who you work for. It could be a state entity, it could be anybody. Somebody comes in, takes charge, and changes everything up. You could always tell the newest colonel at United States Central Command. He actually listened to what one of the questions were, and then reacted. And those of us that were veterans never, moved because we knew it would change 10 minutes later. But, he's having everybody change everything to blue. So, number 7, hire executives and managers who would make the decision you would make if you're not there. So this is my particular number one rule, even though I have it at 7. People say, you know, how is it that you grow as fast as you do or do things? It's because I try and surround myself with people who would make the decision I would make. So that I can be in LA and they're picking the right street corner for a store in New Jersey. I can be in New York and someone could be in a meeting in Providence and do the exact same thing I would have done. Now most people tell you, and it happens to me as well when I go to forums, they will say, no, get people that compliment you, that think differently than you do. That think, listen, I've been divorced twice. I don't want to do that anymore, okay? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, okay? I don't want to hear that. I want them to think exactly like me so I can be happy. Number 6, build a trusted vendor list built on loyalty, okay? And this has to be a two-way street. You have to be loyal to them as well, okay? So if they're giving you best pricing early in your career, don't, you know, I'll speak as a normal guy. Don't screw them over, okay? Don't 2 years later, you save a nickel and you go somewhere, you know, and do whatever. And again, these are things that I've seen firsthand, experienced, you know, 25 years. Again, not knocking my brother, but he's a price shopper. That's what he does. If he can save $3, he'll give it to some guy in Brooklyn he's never met before. Meanwhile, I'm having the same relationship with the guy in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania for the last 17 years. You know, maybe I didn't get the best price on this item, but next time I'll get whatever. Or maybe he shifted his whole operation to support me. You think I'm just going to forget him? Okay, so you have to be loyal. Number 5, you need to show at least break even or small profits. Oh, I'm sorry, let me take that back. Showing break even or small profits to avoid taxes is ignorant and destroys real opportunity to build brand value. Where the real money is, okay? So show big profits. Goals should be 15% or higher. Okay, pay your taxes. That's the way it should be. Because why? Because when you show a profitable business, then when you go sell it, people will pay X multiple on the earnings that you've made, and you make the big cash. Okay? How do you think I ended up where I am? I mean, that's the way it is. So instead, everyone else says, no. Show them I make no money. Okay, yeah, everyone's going to invest in you. Okay? So it's wild. Even today, in today's banking environment, I will tell you, in commercial banking, they're just brutally honest. After the recession, after all the new rules, they're not going to give money to anybody who can't show a profit in your pro forma. Okay? If you show all these, by the way, all these MBAs that, you know, they taught, oh, you can, you know, show 3 years of losing money and then you turn it around in year 4. It's all BS, okay? They're not going to give you any money. You show that pro forma. Okay? Show the pro forma that shows real money. I don't care if it's less revenue on the top line, as long as it's black at the bottom. Okay? Do it right. Number 4, go where everybody isn't. Okay? For some reason, everyone goes where everybody is. I chose a Main Street philosophy to rebuild Main Streets throughout the United States, right? Because they're beautiful. And when you go there, then you're the number one person there, and they show commitment, and people want to shop you. And you could be a large player in a, you know, smaller area, but make more money. I can tell you right now, I made more money in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, or Red Bank, New Jersey, than I ever made in Soho in New York, or in Boston on Newbury Street. I'll tell you that right now. Double the money. Okay, so, you know, keep that in mind. Number 3, understand the differences between strategic, operational, and tactical. Okay? And execution on all levels is mandatory. So I'm going to take a minute and go through those. So again, I'm going to give you the Army terminology and then the business sort of equivalent. So on a strategic level, somebody says, and you don't have to agree with this, is about policy or politics, okay? It's just a decision strategically is take Iraq. That's a strategic decision, okay? It comes from the President of the United States. It's up at this level. They just say, go do it. Also strategically, I worked for General Franks at the time, Tommy Franks. He's at the Strategic Combatant Command. He's making the strategic plan on how to do it. Okay? Operationally, you have a 3-star general in Kuwait who's actually going to execute the plan. Okay? And he's going to decide, if now's the time to make changes or shift changes. For example, we arrived in Baghdad 2 days earlier than the plan said. Okay, you have to react to that. These are all operational decisions. Tactically, you're the guy on the ground. So when you have, as we call him, Joe, the soldier, in the corner, in some intersection, and it's hot, and his girlfriend just broke up with him, and he doesn't want to be there, tactically, he's likely not going to have a good time and not do the job right. Okay? So tactically, who do you have working for you? Do a check. Make sure they're not just working for you because they've been there. Make sure you just didn't need a body. Okay? You need people at the tactical level who love their job. How does that translate? To a retailer, it would be me getting a phone call or email or someone on Facebook saying, listen, I went into one of your locations, and the people there, they were just the best. They said hello to me, they took care of me, they walked me in the back, they gave me a bag, they double checked, they did everything that happened tactically, And that gave, really an idea for me to understand how operationally my district managers were doing. So they must have been doing a good job, because tactically they're carrying it out. District managers, okay, are they doing their thing because everyone's trained right and doing their thing. Strategically, that gives me confidence. Let's open another 5 stores because we got this right. Number 2, do not implement reverse age discrimination. Okay? Young people can be leaders. That's just a fact. Okay? If you have an organization that only puts at the top the people who've been there the longest, I guarantee you it's not being run as well as it can be run. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why I retired from the Army. You show me how to make a 28-year-old general, I'll show you a better Army. Okay? Simple as that. Silicon Valley gets it all day long. For some reason, we don't. And the rest of most industries. Just, been there the longest, let them go there. Think about it. In many cases, people are waiting 2 more years to get to retirement, and they're in charge. I posted something this morning on Twitter and Facebook. It was Tom Brady. Hopefully I'll get it right. He said, when I suck, I'll retire. I wish everybody thought like that. Okay? Because that's true. Instead of, oh no, I have 2.5 more years to go, then I'll retire. That's unbelievable. Person's in charge. Okay? Should be the opposite. Number 1, this is mine, but employees come first. Customers come second. You take care of your people, and they'll take care of the customers. Okay? So again, this is sort of contrary to what you hear a lot of. Everyone's, oh, the customer's always right. The customer, no, they're not. There's a lot of idiots that have bought stuff from me. Okay? It's impossible they're always right. Okay? The fact is, if you take care of your people, they will know how to handle that situation, even if it doesn't go the way you would like it to go. I used to have, I remember when I actually physically worked in my family optical centers, and I would look at people. I remember one guy walked in, he was looking at prices on the glasses. And I got rid of all the prices, by the way. I color-coded it after with 4 colors, and that was it. I said, what are you looking at? He looked at me and said, what? I said, you just drove up in a $65,000 Porsche, you have a $5,000 Rolex on, and you're worried about how much you're going to spend on your face? I said, I never thought of that. I said, exactly. $1,200 later, I had a great sale. Okay? But the point is, we didn't look at prices. It was whatever, just so happened, obviously, through the process, he saw something that was a little sturdier or had a little bit more style, etc., and so purchased it. But, how you handle customers is important, but it cannot be that you allow for your staff to take abuse. It's impossible. Okay, you cannot allow that. 3 questions that I always think are important. This was given to me when I went through the Advanced Management program at Wharton with Professor Richard Schell, and he said the following. Ask yourself this. Who am I as a person? What will I do with my life? And who will I do it with? Okay. Those three things are very important. I think you know, how you apply them personally, business life, politically if you're in politics, whatever it is, you should ask yourself those things. Two more things that I think are extremely important. Systems and standards. You need these two things. So I'll give you an example. Previously and also this time, my first store for BENRUS will be in Charleston, South Carolina. Why Charleston? Aside from it being a great place, I believe in opening your first location 1,000 miles away because it forces systems. You're not giving it to your friend, hey, go bring this to Warwick. Now, again, depending on the size business, if you want, you know, multiple locations, large companies or whatever, create the systems, and that forces it. The other is standards. You know, do you think I could walk into the Capitol Grill right now and say, hey, you know, I only have, let's see, 10, 20, 12, 20, I have $22. I want the filet. Does that work? All right. Why do you do it in your business? I don't believe in discounts or sales. Stop giving away free stuff. You know, I was pissed because the Red Sox didn't win the World Series this year because I bought all my furniture, okay, at Jordan's, just to see. Okay? But think about it, it's free. Everything's free. Devalue everything. Devalue your hard work. Devalue the work of your employees. Devalue your marketing expenditures. Devalue everything. It's not worth anything. It's free. Okay? Stop it. I don't know who started it. Stop it. I've never had a sale or a discount because it's that close from being, in my previous case, a trinket. Okay? You want to sell stuff at Hampton Beach? Then discount it. You'll be there in 1 minute. Okay? So that's the difference. So think about whatever it is that you're selling, whatever you've set up. You know who's very good at not discounting and all that? Lawyers. They don't discount. Say, sorry, this is my rate. And they know how not to do that. Yet, you know, we all do it. And I don't know why. You know, free this, free eye exam, if you get this, you get this, you get. So it's just, it's an attraction that, you know, creates a culture that, you know, that ultimately permeates a whole society. So the expectation is changed. So I can tell, you know, immediately, you know, if I'm in Palm Beach, Florida, or in, you know, in New York or something, or in LA, they're not thinking anything's free. You know, but yet we are oftentimes, we think like that, and it's too bad. So systems and standards, make sure that you incorporate those, whatever it is in your business. Determine what that is, okay? You have to determine that. So with that, you know, I guess as a close, I would just say understand your capital. If you need capital to do the things you want to do, you need to figure out how to get it. You know, so how do you acquire it? The worst thing you could do is get not enough capital, okay? Because then you've endangered, in most cases, your friends, your family, whoever you went and got money from. Don't do that, because now everybody's at risk, okay? You have to understand if you need $250,000 and go get $250,000. How do I get $250,000? You know, don't start 50 here, 25, 75. Make it, if you're going to do that, then at least establish the rules that professional money raisers would have, which is, okay, this is the minimum or everybody gets their money back, okay? Like, don't use that money. The other thing is, don't take on partners or people who want to give you money who trickle it in, okay? Either give me the money or don't give me the money, Okay, don't sit there and say 10 here's 10,000. Come back and see me if you need more. Here's another 15. Here's 20. You know, that's not how it should go. It should be the commitment should be at least X. I'll trickle it in. That's just from a not paying interest purposes or not making interest or whatever, if depending where you're getting the resources from. But for those reasons, it's different. But don't let people trickle it in. So with that, I pretty much, I'm going to stop. I can keep going if questions don't come after. So I'll keep going just to close the session out and use the whole hour. But for now, I'm pretty much going to stop and take questions. Hopefully people have some questions for me.
What's
Yes.
a good PR or advertising firm for a startup company in each state or outside the state? What's your experience? I know 7 Sports.
Yeah.
Companies that seem to be pretty successful in what they do.
Right. So the spin-off of that is now called Adam Media. The thing what you want to do is really establish the relationship with the long-term. It goes back to that loyalty comment I had. If they know you're not going to drop them, then you're likely to get a whole lot of collateral up front that will help you really get going. Because that's, in most cases, I'm going to assume you don't have a lot of money to spend. But I use a percentage model. I'm very aggressive. I use 10%. So 10% of whatever comes in or what I expect to come in is what I'm putting back out. And it doesn't matter how much money I'm making. So the more money I make, the more I have to spend. So the other thing is when you talk about marketing and you establish relationships, you can, again, get maybe favorable terms. You likely will have the other entity working for you. I'll give you an example, the University of Rhode Island. We've worked together in the past, and now they say, okay, how do we do, what do you want to do? Let's put our collective heads together. Now there will be, the BENRUS will sponsor the, national anthem or the, fan of the game or whatever it is that maybe they never did before, or they never branded the seats where the players are. Now they'll be branded. Things of that caliber that you want people thinking. The other thing is, just to stay on marketing for a minute, that's really what I do. So, everybody has a role in their company. I'm the marketing, and, I kind of direct the sales, but I don't, sell. But I do all the marketing. And so in my case, I try and cross-pollinate everything. So, if you're going to a Celtics game, you're seeing me. At the same time, when you get your Celtics ticket, I might be on the ticket. So it's all of those things that you want to run into a brand at all times. Depending on who your audience is, obviously will determine the where you spend your money. I expect a 10-time return though. So if I'm taking a $100 ad out, I better make $1,000. If I'm spending $1,000, I want to make 10. If I'm sponsoring the Newport Jazz Festival and Folk Festival and saving it from going, out of business, then I better make $1 million. And I did, right? So it's that kind of expenditure because you're laying it out. But I'll give you an example. I'm hoping to name something soon, and the fact I don't have a store open yet is, a balancing act because I don't want to spend all that money and then I have the audience, but they don't have a place to go spend the money. So I have to kind of balance it all out. So just kind of keep that in mind too. And then how fast you grow. Do you want to grow? That's the whole key. How much money you put in. There's a restaurant that just opened up. I went to it, and they did an awesome job. It's an Asian restaurant, and I've eaten lunch there twice. Beautiful, food's great, price is ridiculous. I don't know if they're going to stay in business because of that, but nobody was in there. I've never seen an ad. And I'm brutally honest, so let's talk about this. Ready? So you're an Asian restaurant. How are you going to differentiate yourself? They all sound the same. How do I know what town it's in? Even if you have an ad. What is it going to say? Right? I don't know what it is. Let's say and this isn't the name, but let's just say it was a Dragon Place. Okay? How many Dragon Places are there? So is that your ad? you're gonna have problems with that ad, right? So you have to think about it. You have to really like fight through it and say, you know, how do I differentiate myself here? And you know, that would take some brainstorming. But there are also, you know, other companies, but up front, if you're gonna spend marketing dollars and all that, you have to determine, you know, what the relationship is. Don't just engage someone. And then on the production side, the caliber of the production, okay? Is it something you can use for a long time? Or is it a one-hit wonder? Is there a timing in there? Is it an event-driven situation that then you can never put on TV again? So just determine all of those things. Hopefully I answered a little bit of what you want. Thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
A military question now. I'm involved with the ownership of a weight loss clinic, high-end, 250,000 patients nationally, 10,000 in Rhode Island weight loss clinic. Recently, we've had an influx of National Guard soldiers, men and women coming in because they have to make weight.
Right.
Recently, I've seen up to 70% of people trying to get in the military don't qualify for that purpose.
Mhm.
The idea is companies, how to embed that culture into companies in Rhode Island to help our sales in a way that would be very positive for them and positive for us. You know, transfer that military
Sure.
need into companies because they need employees who are fit, that are active or whatever. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. I mean, that obviously would be part of a wellness program. You'd have to establish it. I think, you know, what we do, and I use the word we just to speak about Rhode Island right now, the fact is we have too many options. We don't have enough established mandates within our own private businesses. It's like, oh, we might have a wellness program, we might not. Don't make it optional. You don't have it. You know, one of my thoughts, and I guess just to go off track a little bit, would be, you know, I've always said what you should do in Rhode Island is grade companies. Grade them, A, B, C, or D. You know, I can never run for governor because of my, you know, being normal. But other than that, if I were to do something like that, grade them, A, B, C, or D. And then take all of your resources, Commerce Corporation, the whole thing, people, money, time. Who do you think I'd give that money to and those resources to? How about the A companies? Instead, we're finding all the ones that don't know what they're doing and we're trying to give them money. Pretty wacky, right? So, would you do that with your personal wealth? You're going to give it to someone who doesn't know how to handle wealth management? No, you give it to the guy who knows how to make more money with it. So think about it. That's what we do. And that's a systemic issue. It's a structural deficit, right? We cannot fix those things because structurally we're not changing it. If you change it, the whole way you do it, you're going to help it. Now, why did I bring that up during your question? Is because those A companies are going to have wellness programs. Those A and B companies are going to, you know, think of how to make their employees happy, how to keep a culture that, you know, really moves in a direction that's going to grow a company. Those are the things. But, you know, when it comes to National Guard and everything else, you know, again, I don't want to be too philosophical or anything, but it's also the culture in which the way we offer stuff. It goes back to the free thing. $9.99, all you can eat. Okay. You know, that goes back to that. $5 footlongs, whatever you want. I mean, that's what it is. If it was normal, then people would be like, okay, I'm only going to order this much. I have $10 for lunch. That's what I want. Instead, they sit there and it keeps going. But you know, the presentations you would make. I mean, I think you have an excellent, you know, a company that would deal with that. I would sign up in a minute because, you know, you need to have, if you're the National Guard, others to qualify, you need that. I've seen friends of mine, 18-year careers, they can't get back in. They've had to be forced out 17, 15 years because they can't make weight. It's too bad. Yes?
How long, branding is to me is the biggest thing out there as far as getting the name out there of your product. How long do you keep your marketing, ad company, whatever, before you get the name out there? You know, 6 months, 1 year? How long do you give a company before they really, you know,
Deliver?
Yeah.
Before they deliver and you say, okay, they're doing a good job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, budgets for me are annual. You know, I would engage someone for at least a year to see what they're doing. But I wouldn't cede the whole concept of what you want to do to them. You know, if you have in-house talent, and also maybe you have your own 2 cents of how you want to see things. So if you can, you know, give the strategic direction, and, you know, again, operationally, they can, you know, also offer input, and then tactically, they can carry it out at a cost that you can afford, and that's the way I would do it. I tell you, in Rhode Island, for me, the most effective things have always been radio. Think about, you know, what I'm doing. So I do, you know, fashion, and I put it on AM radio. Never been done. I put fashion, and I put them in sports arenas. Never been done. And I sit there, and I'm like, this scares me. When did I become the smartest guy? It's crazy. Okay? But yet, I don't see Ralph Lauren. I don't see Calvin. I don't see anybody there. But if you break it down, you know, if you have a love affair for the Patriots, and I'm with the Patriots, you're going to come and shop me. I'm just talking from a, you know, fashion brand. The other thing is people throw too much information on there. You know, you get a little sign up in the thing. Oh, let's see. Let's squeeze in our website. Let's put Bobby on there. Let's like everything they can squeeze in on that sign. Okay? Instead of just putting the name. You remember the name, you know, and then, but, you know, sponsoring things that are important to communities are probably the most effective ways to get your word out there. So if you have that local golf tournament, memorial golf tournament, if you have that local basketball game, if you have that other things, and you can hit them all at once though. Don't sit there and just sponsor the soccer team and then say, I didn't get a return. Like, you gotta hit the community. You have to absolutely like bombard it. You know, you have to hit it everywhere. Give you a quick example of probably the most effective thing I've ever done. So there's the largest private department store chain in the country is called Belk. They're in the South and the Midwest. It's 305 locations. Headquarters are in Charlotte, North Carolina. I started advertising there in October, the year before last. Bombarded Charlotte, North Carolina. Every way you can imagine. And it was like, you don't have a store there. I said, no, I know. I just bombarded it, right? And you could not go to work at Belk without hearing about the company, okay? So now they start calling me. I don't answer. I don't answer in November. I don't answer in December. January, now we don't get it, whatever, he's busy. February, they finally go through their private office to their wealth management guy, who reaches a Division I basketball coach who's a friend of mine, says, will you please call these people? Okay, for you, I'll do it.
So you created the demand.
$29 million account, okay? Because I know how to condition the populace to react. And the way you do that is you have to create demand. You know, you have to. Again, it goes back to the whole free thing. If you're giving it away for free, nobody cares, nobody wants your stuff, right? 2 for 1, 10 for this. I mean, I don't even know. Joseph A. Banks, I think I got 22 socks with the last time I've been in there. I don't. It's like those commercials are ridiculous. Buy a suit, 17 shirts, 15 socks. That's why they got sold or whatever happened. They had to merge with the other guy or whatever. It's like, it's crazy. So, anyway, that's, anything else? Yes, sir.
From a children's online high-end boutique versus a retail establishment, do you think they complement each other in terms of retail and catalog? Do you need both to develop company and the brand, or do you just stick with one or the other?
I'm a big believer in both, depending if you're trying to build a larger company.
Okay.
So when you build, you know, there's nothing that beats a brick and mortar shop. I mean, people feel it, touch it, their sister can tell them about it, somebody's going to say something. Where you place it's important. So again, going back to why I opened a store in Palm Beach, well, what I did is I looked at the Palm Beach social calendar after, and I closed the loop on the whole thing. So I opened in Manhattan, I opened in the Hamptons, I put a location on Martha's Vineyard, I had one in Newport, and then I put the last one in Saratoga Springs. Now, no matter who's going where, sister, husband, brother, son, daughter, everybody's seeing it. Because that's where they go, So you close the loop on it. You need an area domination matrix. Decide where you want to be, and then look at all of what you touch. Is there an airport? Is it international? Where does it go? Okay. Is there a sports team? Is it, pro, or is it semi-pro, or whatever? Are there colleges? How many? One of the reasons why Newport's so successful, I think, is that, you're really touching the whole country when you put it in Newport. So, there was misinformation. People think it's seasonal. Seasonal? The store was the oldest store in its fourth year. The first year did $500,000, and the fourth year did $4.5 million. So it was seasonal. It's because you're closing it. Remember they said, if it was 4th of July, my first year, they said, hey, everyone's closing at 3 o'clock. Can we close? I said, I'm sorry, I know I've been gone for 15 years, but is this Newport we're talking about on 4th of July weekend?
Yes.
They said, yeah. I go, what are you talking about? Absolutely not. Closing at 11, extended, a matter of fact, 4 hours. Okay, so, and that was the first day I ever crossed $7,000 in sales. The highest day at that location was $121,000 in one day. Because, and then the environment, right? People want clean technology. They want, look at your bathroom. How many times you go to eat at a restaurant, whatever, you can tell just by the bathroom if you're going to go back, right? How it's going to look, what it's going to, it's the standards. It goes back to that standards thing again. Like, I don't get why something is not right. So I used to have a general, his term was, do routine things routinely. That's it. Why'd you stop? Why'd you stop cleaning the top of that refrigerator today? I don't get it. Like, if it's clean, it's clean. Like, you always do, So that's but the online business, is obviously growing. And that's where everything is. But also be realistic of what you're selling, how many units, and if it can deliver what you're looking for. If you don't have enough units, I have, one gentleman, he sells very high-end things. It's between like $60,000 and $300,000 a piece, okay? And they make about $150 a year. I said, well, at the end of it all, he says, listen, I have X millions of dollars invested. Well, at the end of it all, even if you sold all 150, or you sell 150 of everything, it's never going to match. It's not, because his margins were only 15%. So I'm like, okay, that's impossible. It's structurally, it'll never work. So just, make sure you have enough units. In my case, because BENRUS was originally a watch company and now I'm making it a lifestyle brand, and you're going to have the denim and the coats and the, sunglasses and the cologne and all of the rest of it. I'm doing the math right now, and I have to tell you, I rejected 3 business plans already because they don't make sense to me. Okay, there's not enough stuff that's going to sell for me to make the number that I said I would make. So it doesn't matter if I blow out all the jeans and I blow out all the coats, I'm not going to make enough. So you have to do that math. It's a reverse math. So determine how much you want to make. Do you have enough products to sell? Someone else came to me recently. They wanted to, and a very noble cause, and I will assist as I can with a particular charity. She was like, well, I was thinking of selling, tote bags or whatever. Even if you sold 1,000 of them, well, what you going to make? Like, it doesn't matter. And the chances of you selling 1,000 are impossible. So there's like, what I mean? So that it's like, do the math. And when you do it, don't waste people's time. We only live once. Even if you're entrepreneurial and you want to do all that stuff, please take the time to do your business plan, to think it through. And recently, if I could just add this, I spoke to the Craft and Hobby Show in Anaheim, California. About like 5,000 people there. And I said, you know what? There's 3 different types of people here. And you're either manufacturer, you're a designer, or you're a retailer. And I said, I bet you 90% of you are out of position. You have designers who have stores who have no business having a store. You have manufacturers trying to be designers when you should be hiring the designers, okay, and whatever the rest of it was. And a woman came up to me after, she said, you know what, you finally told me something that for 15 years no one ever told me. I've been waiting to hear it. Because she's just, doing this. And it's an important thing. I just believe this country's so great and we can do great things if we all understand reality. It's reality management. My father always wanted to have a store, and he finally opened Luigi's Fruit Store, okay? And he was terrible. He was the worst. He was bad at it, you know? My mother had to go there to fix it. He's selling penny candy. How many penny candies we gonna sell here? It's impossible. The watermelons were blowing up. It was like 90 out in July. He had them outside. It was terrible, the whole thing, okay? But he didn't, you have to know if you can do it or not. He'll get the people. Yes.
In terms of the retail side, would you focus in a general area, 3 or 4 stores, or like you said, would you circumnavigate the globe with 4 or 5?
No, I have a rule for if depending on how many you want to build, if you're going all out and you want to build 50 or more stores or something like that, for every 4 you cluster, I would throw 1 far away. So, and I do that for influence. So maybe I open San Francisco because I really want to influence the internet. I want to influence Silicon Valley. I'm not trying to make money there, okay? Why take on high rents in Chicago and Houston? Oh, forget all that. Open 4 good ones in a place that you can influence in Michigan, and then go open something else, So that's just my particular thing.
So you talked a couple times about free, and I've heard retail wrapped around that. There's more and more companies out there that are offering programs to heroes, as well as non-for-profits, franchise business opportunities, and things like that. Does your thoughts and opinion with the free aspect of it lead into that as well, from a philanthropical perspective?
To be quite honest with you, as a 24-year veteran of the Army, yeah. You cannot give stuff away. It doesn't work, okay? You just can't. People, I remember when the tragedy happened in Connecticut at the school there, and somebody said, oh, why don't you make something for the school and give 100% of the proceeds to the school? It's impossible. If you want to see 1,000 people lose their jobs, sure, we can go do stuff like that. You can't give away zero. Zero means zero. So, instead we had a program that gave 20% of the proceeds to people. And we gave away $8.9 million over a year. So, when you establish programs and you can have a business model that works. So I would say the model, I don't, know who's doing the franchise. Maybe they did the numbers and it works, or, I would hope they did. But just as a general rule, I'm not going to waver. I do not believe in free. I don't like discounts. I think it's a problem. I think it's a big problem in this country. Yes, sir.
What's your opinion on the investment landscape here in Rhode Island? And then when I say investment, I mean from a startup perspective. As a founder and CEO of a company that's going through the rigmarole, if you will, of raising capital here in Rhode Island, I find it to be a place that's very adverse to risk. The so-called angel investor or groups
Yeah,
are
no,
very
exist.
adverse to risk, which, by the way, forced me at this point to go outside of Rhode Island.
Right.
Take a look at places where investing really has a meaning and a value to it.
Yeah, I will tell you, as a Rhode Islander and have been here for so long,
Same here,
it doesn't exist. It's non-existent, and those that do, they're pennies really, in the grand scheme of things. So that's it's a structural issue for the state. They want to address it, then create a culture to have investors want to make this home. And then it's also on the investment philosophy. So what I did is I opened my investment company first, and then I invested in the company I purchased. But there's, for the most part, except for a media, driven organization like Providence Equity or others, there aren't those looking around. But it's a philosophy. A lot of people want to make a piece of coal into a diamond, and what I like to do is say, was it a diamond first? And if it was, then I have confidence in what I will add to the equation to make it successful. So that's kind of there, but it's kind of where I am. And, yes, sir.
What trends do you see in the future? How are you going to capitalize on the future trends in 5, 10 years out from now?
As far as consumer things, yeah, so everything's going mobile. So I was fortunate enough, I'm part of the Senior Fellows Program at Wharton, so I go 3 times a year to kind of behind the scenes throughout the country. And so in Silicon Valley, we took 4 days went behind the scenes everywhere, signed the non-disclosures, and got a look at what the future looks like. And the future's all mobile. So it's, when you're building information, applications to purchase something for your business, all of that has to be configured in a way in which someone can reach you mobily. The other thing is to understand that the population, how it's broken down. So your Generation Y, how they behave. They behave in collaboration. Okay, the youngsters, they want, if I do something to her that's no good, you're going to hate me as a group. Okay, baby boomers were different. They kind of, and I have this, so don't yell at me. It's a whole PowerPoint. They didn't like their kids. Okay, that's why you have Chucky, Home Alone, all this stuff going on. All right, so there's just it's a fact. It's the way we behave, how we market, and how the behavior. So in my case, let's say BENRUS was an old watch company, and we also introduced backpacks, right? Well, I believe I could be a disruptor in backpacks in the whole country. So Jansen, you know what? Better watch out. Because if I make BENRUS cool, everybody's going to want to wear BENRUS. It doesn't matter if the Jansen can take you to the moon. It doesn't matter. BENRUS will be what you wear. So you have to, understand brand value. One last point on that, I know I'm going to get yanked here, is just, understanding the differences. So you have like UPS and FedEx, right? UPS owns all their planes, FedEx leases all their planes, completely different business models. But from a brand value, FedEx took off, right? And you use terms like FedEx, like they would Kleenex. It became synonymous with what it does. And so that's what you have to determine, if what you have has any brand value. If it does, then invest heavily in it. Invest heavily in building the brand. Everything else will come. I believe strongly that in just 60 days, whatever I purchased BENRUS for has already multiplied by times 20. Because I know from the articles in Bloomberg to today's International New York Times that's quoting me, to whatever's going on, BENRUS is now back on the forefront of people's dialogue and lexicon and so forth. It will be there. It will be worth something. That's why Hostess can stop making a Twinkie and someone's still going to pay $800 million for it. Okay, and then they'll start making them again next Monday. And that's the way it works. So thank you all very much. I know we had an hour here, and for those of you I bored, I'm sorry, but hopefully you had a great time and have a great day today. Take care.